And here we go. Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do called Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and today I'm doing another finisher video for Mortal Kombat 1. And going into the Kombat League today, I am using Peacemaker and the kameo Kano. The intention here is to get Peacemaker's Brutality, wait for it. And that is going to be the Brutality version of the Force Multiplier Special Attack, where Peacemaker only fires one shot.
So if I say activate human
Shut up, Smoke! Jesus! What the hell?
Take one. Action!
And it is at this point that I kind of remember I had some weird luck when it came to matchmaking when I was using Peacemaker. Now, this was around the time he was first released, I think maybe a week or two afterwards. And for some reason, whenever I was using Peacemaker, I kept getting matched up against people who were incredibly low-leveled and only had a few matches under the belt. So it seemed like I was going against people who were, for the most part, playing the game for basically the first time. And that was the case here again with this person using Smoke. They only had 2 matches under the belt, both of which were losses, and they were level 4. So I was a tiny bit worried about competition, but I was a little bit optimistic at least that I might be able to pull off this brutality against somebody who was still kind of learning the game. Now that's not ideal, I'd rather have a little bit more competition instead of just going against somebody I have a favorable matchup against, but I have no control over who I get in the Kombat League, so you kind of just have to take what you can. But then again, maybe I'm just assuming too much. After all because a person's only played a few games does not mean they're necessarily not good at the game. For all I know, this Smoke individual could end up just absolutely destroying my life and sweeping me in this matchup. Now, does that happen? Well, no it doesn't, but you never know. But as I recall, that was kind of just what I was getting with Peacemaker. I was either going against people who had barely played the game, or I was going against people with incredibly good winning records in the Kombat League. There really wasn't a whole lot in the middle, at least not as I recall.
Peace out, motherfucker!
Brutality. Peacemaker wins.
And well, that was the wait for it brutality. I just wish I could have gotten it in a little bit more of a competitive fashion. You may have seen it, but my opponent kind of just gave up there at the very end. Once I had a large enough life lead, they just stood in place and basically let me do whatever I needed to do in order to finish the match. So I could have pretty much finished it any way I wanted. That is a bit of a bummer, and after he did that, I just kind of expected this individual to go ahead and quit the match or return to main menu. But that also didn't end up happening. Instead, they went ahead and went for their next match, and yeah, I was hoping that maybe it'd get a little bit better. Now, I've definitely said this in some other videos where other individuals have done something similar, but I definitely encourage seeing how a fight ends. Like, go ahead and play it out the entire way to see who ends up winning it in the end, because even if you are in a gigantic life deficit, some crazy stuff happens occasionally, and sometimes you can make the comeback. Granted, that's not very common, but every now and then you just get lucky. But I think that does kind of sum up the kind of matches I was getting with Peacemaker pretty well. I was either going against people who are really new like this individual, and it kind of didn't seem all that fair, or I was going against people with really good records, and, well, those matches were pretty awesome. There was just really nothing in between. At least not that I remember. So I kind of feel like the quality of the finishers, or at least the matches in order to get the finishers, kind of varied a bit with Peacemaker. And it's one of the reasons why, at least in a few of the cases, I went ahead and did multiple matches with Peacemaker for these videos. That way, even if the initial match wasn't the greatest, at least I could try to get as many of them as I could and show off the finisher as much as I could. Just trying to balance out the quality of the matches. And with that being said, that is definitely something that is going to happen in this video. I'm not going to stop at just this individual that I'm fighting now. I'm going to go on and fight somebody else as well and try to get the same brutality against them.
Peace out, motherfucker!
Brutality. Peacemaker wins.
Alright, and there it is again. That was the wait for it brutality for Peacemaker, a nod to his explosive rounds from the Suicide Squad movie. And probably also from the Peacemaker show, although I have not seen that show. So yeah, my opponent did the same thing as before. Once they were very low on life, they just kind of stood there and let the fight end however I wanted it to. That's kind of unfortunate. I would love to see them fight until the very end, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to the very next match and see how that one goes, trying to get this same brutality against somebody else. That way we get a few different fights and a few varying levels of competition, and, well, more importantly, we get to see the finisher as much as possible. And this second time around, we are going to be doubling down on the Peacemaker because my opponent is using the same character. The only difference here is their costume and that they are using the Stryker kameo, which both Stryker and Kano were super popular for Peacemaker whenever he first came out. Now that was mostly because the grenades from Stryker or the knives from Kano could extend the combos for Peacemaker in a way that was not intended, and also resulted in some crazy big combo damage for Peacemaker. Now that only lasted a few days before it ended up getting patched out, but still at that point I had already practiced with Kano, so I went ahead and stuck with that character. I'm sure there were better cameos I could have went with at that point, but I figured I'll go ahead and stick with what I had been doing. After all, out of all the cameo fighters available at the time, Kano seemed appropriate enough for Peacemaker. I mean, Kano seems like the kind of guy who might have ended up on the Suicide Squad. So yeah, if Kano ends up dimension hopping to the DC universe, I could see that happening. And then maybe these two end up fighting on the same team. But yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I have seen John Cena's version of Peacemaker in, besides, like one episode of the Peacemaker show. Like, I watched the pilot, but I pretty much only know this character from the Suicide Squad movie that James Gunn did. And this exploding bullet-related brutality, I believe, is a reference to when Peacemaker and Bloodsport were kind of trying to show off and trying to show each other up when they were invading that little rebel village that they did not realize was a rebel village at the time.
Peace out, motherfucker.
Brutality. Peacemaker wins.
Alright, and there's the wait for it brutality again, and there goes my opponent. Alright then. So I guess we're going to be cutting this matchup short, and I'll go ahead and take the victory for this set. So yeah, my opponent, whenever they saw me jumping over them, they went for their fatal blow, which, had they activated it sooner, I would have jumped right into it, and it would have activated, and I probably would have lost. The thing is, they didn't activate it in time, so just before they were able to shoot the ground, my Peacemaker had already touched the ground and jumped again. So they were just shooting at nothing while my character was then airborne for the second time. That got me the distance I needed, and before their fatal blow animation ended, I went ahead and got the force multiplier shot off, and the brutality activated. So that was definitely a fun finish, and definitely wasn't a bad set, so I kind of wish they'd stuck around for a little bit longer. But that's alright. We saw 3 different matches for 2 different sets, and all 3 of those matches ended in the wait for it brutality. I think that's good enough for me. But yeah, I was talking about what this brutality was a reference to, and at least the one thing that I know for a fact that it was kind of in was in the Suicide Squad movie, in the scene where they go into the Rebel Village, and Peacemaker and Bloodsport are kind of just trying to show each other up. And if I remember correctly, that little showing up of each other where they're trying to show each other feats of marksmanship only ended after Peacemaker landed a shot on one of the rebels, and they did not die immediately. And then Peacemaker basically did exactly what this brutality's titled. He said, wait for it, or implied to wait for it, and then that person exploded. So yeah, fun reference. I'm not sure if it comes up again at all in the show, but it was a pretty brutal scene in the movie, so a pretty good idea for a brutality in this game. But yeah, with that brutality now having been accomplished on 3 separate occasions, there's really not too much more to say or do in this video. I'll go ahead and wrap it up. Just thank you for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to check out some of the other finisher videos I have under the Thor's Entertainment channel. Those can be found in the Mortal Kombat 1 online playlist. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. Thank you again for watching the video, and again, I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Peace out, motherfucker.
Brutality. Peacemaker wins.